Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the Neoliberal Round podcast. I am Ronaldo Mackenzie, and today we have with us, as promised, Reverend Deon Jackson. Reverend Deon Jackson. And Reverend Deon Jackson was newly ordained and licensed minister, but we learned today that he was already a minister, already a pastor, ordained, working for another congregation, but he was licensed and ordained to continue ministry in another ministry as well, in addition to the work that he's already doing. And of course, we learned today Reverend Deon Jackson is actually from Atlanta. He's from Atlanta, and he is quite an interesting young man because he's only 36, and a lot of his ministry is to those who are vulnerable, those who are shut in, those who are sick, those who are addicted to some kind of substance, or people who are substance abusers. But he does his ministry to the persons who are usually on the fringes, and he continues to do so, and we're looking forward to the conversation with him. But I also had promised that we were going to do an interview a podcast on, I believe it was Monday, but we never got a chance to do that. It's the Men of Care of Germantown. Men Who Care of Germantown in Philadelphia had a outreach, a Stop the Violence outreach in Germantown on Monday, just past, at the corner of True and Shelton, but we weren't able to cover that. But there are several other initiatives that will be going on throughout this month in the city. There's also Phi Beta Sigma fraternity, my fraternity, and who is having an event Juneteenth event that's coming up in Philadelphia. And as soon as I get more details, we'll be able to provide that for you. But you could go to their Facebook pages or to their website, New Sigma Philadelphia, or Philly Sigmas. But you can follow up with them. But they have some events. Brothers Stroll, there's also some events coming up. Several initiatives, and we will outlay them for you if you visit my page, RonaldoCMackenzie.com or theneoliberal.com. But the podcast, we will have a podcast tomorrow. We will continue the series towards developing Caribbean thought or perspective, or Caribbean and Pan-Africa perspective and thoughts. We will have part 2 of that series. We will continue the series tomorrow, and I believe either Friday or Saturday we will have Dr. Andre Isaacs. Dr. Andre Isaacs is formerly of he went to St. George's College in Jamaica, and he studied chemistry at Holy Cross, and then he went and studied organic chemistry, did his PhD in organic chemistry at the University of Pennsylvania, and he went on to University of California, Berkeley, to do his postdoc, and now he's an associate professor of chemistry at College of the Holy Cross in Massachusetts. And so we're looking forward to the interview with him. Continue to listen to to follow us to the Neoliberal Round podcast, and we are all about exciting events, exciting things. We're all about serving the world today to solve tomorrow's challenges. And of course, our aim is to make popular what was the monopoly, which is also the aim of communication, to make popular what was the monopoly. We'll be right back after these messages. episode of the Neoliberal Around podcast. We are live. We are waiting for Reverend Deon Jackson to join us on the Neoliberal Around podcast. Reverend Deon Jackson was recently ordained in the Lord's Church Rehab Cathedral in Atlanta. That was on June 10th, 2022. And I'm quite sure he has a very interesting story to tell the world. As I said to you, the Neoliberal Around podcast, we share the story. We're all about communication. And what is communication, or what's the aim of communication? The aim of communication is to make popular what was the monopoly. And we want to share his story so as to inspire. Because here is a young man with who has reoriented his life and is now serving as a minister, an ordained minister within the church. And I think I just read the overseer's statement. Overseer Jaron Carroll, who is his overseer, I believe, said after a year and months of classes and trainings and, did I say, tears, prayers, and so on and so forth, they've made it to ordination. And I'm quite sure it's more than a year and some months, because you'll have to go through some grueling and some experience to even get to the training itself. And we celebrate with this gentleman. And of course, they recently had their holy convocation and village gathering in 2022. And it seemed to have been that was I think what the culmination of the convocation was led up to the ordination. So we are waiting for him to join us. And we want to talk about his challenges. We want to talk about his dreams. We want to talk about his vision. We want to talk about his influence. And I believe recently, in June, his grandmother passed recently. And he indicated that she was a very influential figure in his life. In fact, 6 days ago, he said, "The color of my aura is red, passionate, fiery, never back down, a fighter, rebellious, protective of loved ones, and confident." And that speaks much. And he said later after that, he wrote, "God, I'm grateful, but I'll never be ashamed of who God has made me to be." Who has God made you to be? We'll be right back after these messages as we try to get Reverend Deon Jackson to join in on the program. We'll be right back.
I'm
Good
sorry.
evening.
Hey, good afternoon. How are
Good. Oh, good afternoon. I'm doing very well. I know you are in Atlanta. Oh, let me turn this thing off quickly. There we go. My I need to turn my do not disturb on. Uh, Let me see this quickly. Cancel. Turn this off. Do not disturb. Do not disturb. There we go. All right. All right. Well, good afternoon, and I welcome, man. I appreciate you joining me for this meeting, for this interview.
you? Okay, yeah. My apologies. I'm actually in travel right now, so if my phone is in and out, it's because I'm actually driving at the moment. So
Oh,
please
that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I think I can still well, we can still hear you. It's we're gonna be doing audio podcast as well. It's audio or visual. That's fine. But listen, I am impressed to see young men like yourself um doing very well, being ordained as a minister. Some And by the way, everyone, welcome to the Neoliberal Round podcast. I am Ronaldo McKenzie. And we have with us, as I said to you just before we started, we have with us Reverend Deon Jackson, who was recently ordained. And let me know if I have this correctly, in the Lord's Church, the Rehab Cathedral in Atlanta.
well, I say it in this way. I say that I was licensed as a minister in the Lord's Church, um, but I'm under the presiding bishop, C. Montez Jones, who's the founder of the Rehab Cathedral of Atlanta and also the Inca Fellowship.
Yeah.
And I put it in the way that I put it because I'm also connected with another church as well. I'm connected with the Vision Cathedral of Atlanta and under the Bishop Oliver Clyde Allen III, who I've been serving for the last 14 years. But Bishop
14
Jones
years.
and
Okay.
Bishop Jones actually and I had a conversation, and he reached out and he was like, I see that you have a calling, a strong calling and a strong anointing on your life, and I just want to ordain what God had. I just want to solidify what God had already ordained.
Okay. And tell me, what is your ministry? What is your talent?
I mean, my ministry, I don't just have a full ministry right now, but I mean, going out ministering to the unchurched, that is what I like
Yeah.
to do. Meeting those people where they are,
Yeah.
we like to oftentimes preach to the ones that are already in church, the ones who are already church people, the ones who are already so-called quote unquote saved or whatever, when the ones who really need to be reached are the ones that are outside, the ones that are in the trap houses, the ones that are sleeping on the street, the teens and the young men and women that are really going astray right now in the world that we're living in. So these are the people who I'm really after to try to reach and who I've been ministering to and reaching out to for years,
Yeah.
doing the work,
Mhm. Okay. And that's been the hallmark of your ministry.
Yes, sir. Pretty much it has been always ministering to the
And
unchurched. And I started in ministry at a very early age. I come from a very long line of preachers, singers,
okay.
musicians, everything. And I started following God at a very early age.
What
I
age?
also
You don't mind me asking? I just celebrated my 43rd. I'm 43. Just yesterday was my birthday, actually. But you don't mind me asking, how
Oh,
old are
happy
you?
birthday.
Thank you, man. I
Um,
appreciate that.
I'm actually 36 years old. I'll
Okay,
be
okay.
37 this October.
Okay, cool. And you started and you said you started ministry, or is it started ministry young, or started and I presume you are a Christian within the church, and you started, and so tell me your experience. Tell me your experience as a young man growing up, and your convert, and how you became converted into the faith and what that has been for you, and why you decided to become and minister, and how that came about. So let's begin with your life as a young man growing up, and your conversion story.
Well, as a young man growing up, like I said, I've always had a love and a pull for Christ. I mean, it was not. I was never one of the kids that my parents had to make me go to church or to read my Bible or anything. I don't know why. I mean, I just felt like I was one of the very few chosen one for real, because I was the one leading my family to church the majority of the time, even though my parents gave me the basis of church, and my grandparents and my great grandparents or whatever, they introduced me to church. But that drive and that love just had always been in me. Even coming up in school, oftentimes when I was coming up and we would have career day, I would never dress up as a lawyer, a doctor, a policeman, or fireman, or any of that. It was crazy and very bizarre that my outfit was always me dressed up in a suit, and never saying I was a preacher per se, but my thing was I'm a leader for God. And that has always been my thing, probably since the age of 4 or 5. Anybody ask me, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? I want to be a leader for God. That was always my answer. And even to this day, still my answer. I still want to be a leader for God. I mean, we all sometimes fall short of the glory, but hey, it all makes our story even the more, And so, like I said, at a very early age, I always had a pull for God. And I learned at an early age that I could sing, and I pulled towards the singing for gospel music. And I started singing around the age of five or 6.
And so you can sing.
Yes, sir.
I noticed that you don't have anything. I don't see you singing. I mean, I don't see you singing anywhere. I was looking at some of your social media. I don't see you singing anywhere. But okay, that's good.
I've actually been
traveling together, but that's.
I've actually been a traveling background singer professionally for over 15, close to 20 years now, on a very professional realm. Yeah, so I've sung with some of the biggest names in gospel.
Who are some of the people you've sung for?
I've sung with Karen.
Tell me some of the names.
Karen Clark Sheard. I sung behind Kurt Franklin before. Nice. Mary. I've done a lot of things with the Clark sisters, the Pace sisters as well.
That's so good.
Fred Hammond, John P. Key. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, I've been around them for so long, working in the industry and traveling with them on so many different platforms. So I'm blessed in that area as well. And so,
that's good. I know recently you had a death in your family. Well, is it that I think I was going to ask you about your influence. Your grandmother died recently. What about her role in your life, and you develop your faith and your experience?
Yeah, she is definitely one of the ones, and I always tell them the church that she brought us up in, and I got to give a big shout out to them, which is the Bethlehem Baptist Church down in Plains, Georgia. A little small country church, but my family roots. And I'm so thankful for her. And I was like, she's one of the reasons why I do have a love for God, as I always do, because she set the example, always showing me to go to church, to worship God, to pray, and to lean on God for certain things in life. And, even with my singing ministry, I can remember times when she knew that I loved to sing gospel music, and she would record all of the services in the little, what they would call the musicals back in the old days, the singings. And she would record those for me. And I would come down to South Georgia to visit, and she would have a whole bag for me when I got there. And I would go home and sit in front of my radio listening to all of the old school church songs and the preachings and everything. And just actually, I'm thinking I'm just listening to it for enjoyment, but not knowing at the same time I'm also being filled and fed at the same time, and drawing me nearer to God and the calling that I had on my life.
And what has it been for you? You know, I mean, I grew up in a very Christian home as well. I'm ordained as a minister as well. It hasn't been easy, and I know you. Tell me how has it been for you? And as a young man, you're 36, a minister of religion. You said you focus on church, but what has it been for you as and your faith, and how is it different from the faith experience of your how has it been for you? Because I know you are very dynamic, young. I know you are dynamic. Right? I know you are very dynamic, very charismatic. You're part of the new millennial. You know, I mean, and I would love to understand your faith and how has that changed over time, and how does that affect your ministry? How does it clash with those of your peers and those within your own church and so on and so forth? Tell me that experience.
Well, when it comes to my faith, one, I can always say that I'm a miracle baby for one. Me and my twin sister, my mother was told that she couldn't even conceive kids. And to God be the glory, she had 2 sets of twins to this day. And
oh, you're a twin?
Yes, I am. I have a fraternal twin sister.
Oh, I'm a twin, man. Wow, it's quite interesting.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Great.
And so,
this is amazing. There's so much we got to talk about. But yeah, I keep cutting you. But this is interesting. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry about that.
And from overcoming several trials with sicknesses, always been sick as a little kid with things of my stomach, not knowing that I had premature Crohn's disease. So I was always
What's that called?
Premature Crohn's, what they call ulcerated colitis. So I had dealt with that as a young child or whatever. Always been sick or whatever, and just from being down and sick, you know, I had to pull on the strength of God to get me through so many different situations, and not even to go into some in depth of my testimony, but I can just touch on certain bases of it. Like,
oh yes, please. The floor is yours, sir.
The doctor had spoke over my life 3 different times that I would not be here. And had told my mom to call my whole family that I would not make it through the night. And I'm grateful to God that I'm still here years later, healthy as an ox. I mean, in the best health of my life, to be able to tell my story and minister to others, you know, who dealt with that. But that's the basis of my faith, because of all the things that I had been through at such an early age. You know, I really had to pull on my strength of God just to get me through certain situations, because I was faced with several things that almost took me out. I can say that. And I've even been to the point of wanting to commit suicide. I was at the point of wanting to commit suicide. I had it all planned out. I said, hey, there's an expressway in Atlanta called I-20. And it merges with Interstate 75, and I had planned to take my life in this curve. And back then, there was never traffic in this area. And I said, you know, when I get to this curve, I'm going to turn my steering wheel hard as I can, and I'm going to just end it all, because this isn't the life that it's supposed to be. But when I got to that curve on that day, there was traffic in the curve.
Yes.
And traffic slowed all the way down probably to like 5 to 10 miles an hour. And when I got past the curve, God said, not yet. And I heard the voice of God saying, not yet. And I'm like, what do you mean, not yet? Like, what? Like, God, I want this to be over. I want to be out of here. I mean, what do you mean, not yet? And he said, not yet. You have work to do. And I still believe it. And one of the reasons he spared my life so many times when I've been at the hand of death, and my life had even been given up on by so many. And I'm just thankful that God saw fit to use me to even be able to tell my story, to even be able to minister the gospel to people and save people. And I'm just grateful for it. So that's what
we're giving God thanks for you, man. But tell me, and there might be people who are experiencing some of the same issues that you are that you had experienced, and you probably might provide a great opportunity even now what to just share with them, or what are some of the challenges or experiences that you were having at that moment, or some of those that had caused you to want to take your life. And I know you said that you heard the voice of God. God spoke with you in a very powerful way, and put and placed obstacles that prevented you from carrying that out. But what are some of the challenges that you have, and where and what do you see is happening in your life now that has created such a change?
Well, just from different 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 things that had just raised my life medically and even physically.
Yes.
You know, traumas of the heart. You know, I had even I was not diagnosed, but I had pneumonia, and the medicine I was being treated with from pneumonia I was allergic to, which caused my airways to basically close up, and I was only getting 10% of air to my heart, and my heartbeat was at 93 beats per minute, as if I had just ran a marathon, and they thought that my heart was actually going to burst and beat out of my chest.
Yes.
And at that moment, they told my mom, "There's like, we can't slow his heart rate down, and to call his family that he will not make it through the middle of the night." And then a cancer scare.
Yes.
And at that moment, I did want to take my life. And
Wow.
God spared my life. Thank you, Jesus. I mean, and I don't have cancer till this day. I'm cancer free. Thank you, Lord.
Amen to that.
But you know, when you've been so strong in your faith, and when you are hit with certain things of your life that challenge that faith that you have and that you put in God, person that you can't see, a person that you can't touch, you know. And like they say, faith is the substance of things not seen, things that are hoped for, you know. And so that hope or that faith was God would step in and pull me back from the hands of death, which he did, you know. And it caused me to lean on him even the more, you know, and to be able to tell my story. So many people who's my full story. Talk about it more boldly, you know, but I don't want to do it while I'm driving, because that's a very emotional and touchy subject, you know.
Yes, but we're gonna probably have to have a part two, because I would love to hear about it. But you know, you said you are a singer as well. I would love to hear you share at least a powerful story in a song for us.
Could you say that again?
Would you like to share one of your songs with us right now? Actually, I'm putting you on the spot. I would love to hear you. We would love to hear your voice. We'd love to hear that powerful, transformative voice, man.
I could give a small something real quick.
Yes, please. And yes.
I'll just do a part of a song I just not a second or another minute, not another day, but at this moment with my arms outstretched, I need you to make a way, as you have done so many times before. Through a window or an open door, I stretch my hands to thee. Come rescue me. I need you right away. Okay, that's all I'm gonna get for now.
Oh, I need you more. Oh, I need you. Come on. Oh, wow. That's powerful. We're going to have church on the Daily Burr Around podcast, guys. This is really good. You know, I was reading something you said recently. You said, so you are no longer you no longer have cancer. All your you used to have a lot of medical problems, and right now you have overcome them. Yes?
Yeah, well, with the cancer thing, I said it was a cancer scare. I am cancer free.
Yes.
And thank God that it was. But yeah, I've overcome so many of those things and stand firm on the word of God that those things have just created me to be able to be strong in my ministry and be able to tell people about
Yes.
true trials and tribulations. I mean, because I don't feel that you can minister to someone if you had not been through something to be able to minister to someone about.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Like they
And
say,
who are
trials
and
come on every hand, but they've only come to make us strong. They only
yes.
come to make us better to be able to do what we need to be done.
Yes. And you do a lot of work with the unchurched. What are some of the people you meet on a daily basis? And
Yes, the people
what are
that
some of
I
the
meet on a daily basis, and as well as some of the outreach people that
yeah.
I work with, as I have I've been working with my own nonprofit organization, which is the Circle 7 Foundation, which is geared towards people with raising awareness for HIV and AIDS, sickle cell anemia, and cancer awareness. And
Yes.
we go out, we feed the homeless, we dress the homeless, we give out care packaging and all types of those things, and gaining and building up revenue for the education of those diseases and illnesses.
That is good. That's good. And how what impact you see is being you're making with this as you provide an outreach to these people?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that for me?
I'm so sorry. I'm kind of discombobulated just now. What are some of the impact you see that's been made as you do your work among these people, among this group?
Some of the impact, a lot of people, like when we show up, they want to know where we're from, and we also tell them where we're from and give them background. And not only do we provide them with supplies and foods and food options or whatever, but we also minister and pray with these people as well and connect them with God as well, and just minister to them, to give them hope, to give them deliverance from even drug addiction. I mean, so many times we've been out feeding people and we've had drug addicts that came up, and we prayed with these people and their lives have been converted, and some people, and you have to learn that some people, it's a choice from them to actually be homeless. And it startled me and kind of made me open my eyes a little more. It's like, some people, it's not a choice, but some of these people actually have a choice. A lot of these people have families that they can actually go to, but sometimes that's when pride steps in, and we have to learn how to put pride aside. And just ministering to these people have helped some of them even reconnect back with their family, help them get back in the job force, have helped them educational wise. So we try to provide a mass variety of things to these people as we're out doing outreach work, as we're out in the street. I mean, even in the drug communities, when we go out into the trap houses, hey, those people need to be church too. You never know.
Yes.
Who needs to be reached and when they needs to be reached, and how God is going to give it to you to reach them, and the word that He's going to give you to touch these people.
Yeah. And that's powerful. Thank you so much. And even now, if you have, and of course if you have a message you want to share with, but before I get to that, 6 days ago you wrote, "The color of my aura is red, passionate, fiery, never backs down, a fighter, rebellious, protective of loved ones, and confident." Tell me about this post that you wrote some time ago. This was quite interesting, and you actually had the red background, and so it was really well done. Tell me a little bit about this aura that is passionate and fiery and never backs down in a fight. What was happening here?
I mean, I think that was one of those little Facebook things to see what was your color aura or whatever, and it came up mine being red. But the things that they said in that color origin thing, it did ring to be true, because I am all of those things. I'm very fiery, I'm very passionate, and a lot of those things, it comes with not only some of the things that I do, it comes with everything I do, even in ministry, even in work, even in just a lot of things that I do. I'm passionate about everything that I do. I mean, if it's not something that I want to be a part of, I don't want to do it. I can't give my everything. I can't stand behind it 100%. I don't do it. I mean, because everything I do with a passion. I do with the love for it. I do with the joy of it, the enjoyment of it, So yes, those things ring to be true. I can be rebellious at times. I mean, we've all have that rebellious streak at the moment, but not the type of rebellion that leads me into trouble. Thank you, God.
Yes.
And I mean, but like when it comes
and
to
actually,
ministry,
you also,
but when it comes to ministry and my faith, my mom always tell me, you're our firecracker. I mean, because I have so much to be thankful for. I mean, I have so much to be thankful for, and I dare not be silent when I praise. I dare not let the rocks cry out for me, because they say if we're silent, then the rocks will cry out for us. And if God has been this good to me, why will I let a rock cry out for me?
Yes. And you said some time ago, God, I'm grateful, but I'll never be ashamed of who God's created me to be. Who has God created? What was happening here? Why you needed? You said, I am grateful. God, I'm grateful, and ellipses. But I'll never be ashamed, which I found quite powerful. I'll never be ashamed of who God created me to be.
Well, that post because it was the post that led up to that I was announcing that I would be licensed as a minister.
Yes.
And oftentimes being connected with two ministries, I don't know why sometimes ministries pit against each other for whatever reason, when we should be combining together to do the work of the Lord. And it was like a lot of people was like, well, what is your bishop who you've been serving for so long is going to say, or how is he going to feel in regards to someone else licensing you, or that you're being a part of this other church, and how's it going to look with you being a part of two different ministries? And it was just a talk that was about, at first I wasn't going to post it publicly and tell people, but what I said, I'll never be ashamed of the gospel of Jesus or who God created me to be, because I'm here for a reason. Yes. And I'll never be ashamed of that reason, that God had spared my life and has me here to be able to minister to other people, minister to young men and women, minister to the unchurched, and even those that are church, that God has really anointed me for this, and the work that is put forward in this season. It's not time to tear apart the church. It's time to bring the churches together. I mean, whether it's Catholic and Baptist, whether it's whatever, it's time for all of us to get on one accord. If we're all doing the work and we're all listening goal, why not come together on one accord? So when I posted it, it was like, I didn't care, because it's authentically who God created me to be. And this bishop saw it over me, and he saw fit that he wanted to license what God already ordained, and I had already been doing the work for so many years, and it was only befitting that he did.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And you talk about you made a very powerful comment just now as it relates to we need to come together as church, as people within the body of Christ. It doesn't even work Catholic or whatsoever. And of course, there are many reasons why churches and religious groups and people cannot come together. Of course, they have formulated certain rules which makes them exceptional, and the exceptionality of certain group prevents them from, and it's or maybe it's an issue of franchise, or we're running competition with different stores, or Amazon competing against another store. I don't know what the case is, but you are a young man, a young minister, rising leader in the church. What will you do to bring about that change? How can young ministers and young leaders like yourself who are taking over and aspiring to lead, what can you do to bring people or bring churches and leaders and groups together?
The main thing is coming together, and before coming together, you have to have a conversation.
Yes.
Have a conversation. I mean, even though we might be from a different denomination or of religion or whatever, but if we have that same goal, I think it all starts with a general conversation, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel that even with I don't feel that we can work together just because we have set in place certain rules or whatever to or certain guidelines or whatever to what your religion can do and your religion can't do. I mean, because if we all come together, we can just reach the masses, we can reach the nation. So I mean, it all starts with a conversation. And if you have the same desire to reach those people and to bring those people to God and the same God that I serve, I mean, then why not do it on a level that we could do it together? You know?
Yes. You're saying it starts with having the conversation. I think we actually interviewed one of the 2024 presidential candidates some time ago on this particular show, and he said he always talks about just bringing people together and the ability to people to come together, sit down, and have a conversation where we can all be open and affirming and listen to one another, and to affirm what each other is saying. And I think you're saying that's where it starts.
Yeah, because I mean, even with the different types of religion, I mean, me personally, my thoughts of it is when it comes to that, we started off with one, if we're honest. Yes. From the beginning of time, we started off with one, but then ego introduced itself into the picture. And so when ego introduced itself in the picture, you had someone to want to branch off and make this type of ministry. Hey, well, I can do this better than you on this way, and I'm going to call this whatever ministry, you know. Then you had this other person, well, I can do this ministry in a different way. We're going to call this Baptist. You know, I can do this ministry a different way than you can and be better, and I'm going to call this Jewish, you know. So for honest, that's how it pretty much all started. Mm-hmm. But now it's time to really pull back off of egos. And it's time to really embrace what ministry is really for. And what preaching and outreach and all of those things, how it all should work together, and how we all as the masses and different religion and different backgrounds and different auras should be able to come together, bridge the gap to be able to save souls with the same agenda.
So you're saying that it started out as one, but as people branched out because of egos, and then of course people were also thinking that they can do it better than the other as well. That created the kind of chasm among certain groups, which is responsible for the kind of divide and the difficulty with which the church speaks today, in terms of having, dealing with issues of denominational issues, instead of speaking as a complete one voice, to speak to the issue, that speak to where people are hurting, so to speak. Mm-hmm. This is powerful. This is powerful, man. There's so much I want to say to you. And, as a young man, how, because there's some people who may think otherwise, who, for example, my belief is that, God speaks to us based on where you are and based on what, because he's wise. God just knows who we are, and he speaks to us based on our knowledge. And people have universalized it or tried to make it better than the other. But he just spoke to us for us to be able to reach the other, and so on and so forth. But as a young man, what's the greatest challenge for you as a leader within the church? You're a minister and so on, but what do you think is the greatest challenge for young people today as they lead, as they take over from the next generation? What's the greatest, what do you think the greatest challenge will be, and what's your vision?
Well, what I feel is one of a great challenge right now in the church is conforming to the people. And me, I don't feel that necessarily conform to the people. I mean, because my Bible did say the Spirit of the Lord will lift up the standard against them. And, you know, if we have that standard, if we want to be the standard, I mean, the Bible says, and we said as Christians, come as you are. You know, that's weary, wounded, and sad. Yes, you come as you are as a babe in Christ, not knowing the right way. But I mean, if we're saying that God is royal and we're king's kids or whatever, I mean, I don't even think that royals show up to dinner not presenting themselves as royals. You know what I mean? And that comes to say with the people. I mean, everybody, you go in church now and the church look more like the club. You know, you got the spotlights, you got the different color show lights going on, you got the strobe lights going on, and you got the lights dark in the church and walls painted black. I mean, you know, it's almost the same. And you can't even tell the people who's going to church and who's not. Not that you're supposed to, not that it matters, but at the same time, I feel that there's a standard in the house, and that standard needs to be lifted back up, you know? It needs to be.
So you believe that those old-time conservative standards and the way and values should be back in the church?
Some. We'll put it that way, some.
So, okay.
Not all, some. Very strategic about that word, some.
Okay, yes. And this is good. And so now, what's the future for Reverend Jackson? What does the future hold for you?
What the future holds for Reverend Jackson? I mean, just continuously learning, continuously building, continuously growing, and really to step into the calling that God has on my life in this season, and just to do the work and trying to do it the best of my ability with the Lord's help. You know, I mean, I'm not Jesus. I don't do everything right. I'm not a perfect man. I don't portray to be. I mean, I'm just a man, and it's on my Facebook page as well. I'm just a man after God's heart, you know, just to do his work and to live life according to him. Yeah, we're going to fall down. We're going to make mistakes, but it's all a learning process. And that's what makes us great ministers. That's what makes us great people of God, to be able to tell our story through our trials, through our tribulations, through our ups, through our downs, through our life's experiences, good, those are bad, because our life is predestined, you know. God is the author and finisher of our faith, and he already knows certain things that we're going to be running into, that he's allowed, that we've allowed, you know. Even till this point, he knew that you and I would be having this conversation, even though we didn't even know it 3 weeks ago. You know, God already knew it because he's already written this out, and we're just here living it out. And I just want to be able to step into my role as a minister that I've always been, just with a true heart for people, a true heart. I mean, I've always had a heart to serve. I mean, because that's the first thing, is servitude and knowing how to serve, you know. And I thank God for using me in so many ways to serve others, you know, and to be there, to know how to be able to serve others, and just be able to reach whom God has put out there for me to reach. And not on an ego trip, you know, I try to be as humbled as I can, you know, and really follow the voice of God authentically, purely, and wholly, to the best of my ability, the best that God has given me. And like I said, I'm always trying to grow. I'm always trying to connect with younger preachers, younger ministers, elders, evangelists, whomever is in the gospel community that's out here trying to do this work as ministers and whatever we're calling, who's out here doing kingdom work. I'm always trying to connect with these people because it's work for us to be done, and it's work for us to connect to do as together. Yes. No one man can do all of this by themselves. And yes. I don't want to be out here by myself doing it. Yes, I've had to always learn a lot of things by myself because, like, some people have told me, people have seen the anointing that I carry and have been trying to hold it back. I mean, because I've been, like I said, I've been doing ministry stuff for so long, and like Bishop Jones said, this is something that should have been done years ago. In which I agree, it should have been done years ago, but everything in God's perfect timing and will. So I guess God preserved me for this new wave that we need to church these people, to bring people into the kingdom, to bring people back to the cloth, to raise that standard of church back up. We don't have to always conform to the world to get people to want to.
And Deon, Rev, this is the 21st century. So I keep telling people that a lot, and it's sorry for interrupting, but I wanted to ask you a question. You said you're a man that follows after God's heart. And as you follow after God's heart, you also for people. You follow after God's heart, and you have a heart for people, which is one of the most important motif or important thing that's driving your future and your ministry right now. But there's something you said you are also a man who is always seeking, not also after God's heart, but listening to the voice of God. Now, there are people who might be saying, how do you do that? There are people like they're saying I cannot, how do I find God, in fact? And there are people who are hurting even now. And even young people, in the 21st century, people don't have time for church. People don't have no time. You talk about going back to church and so on. People don't have time for church. People don't have time for God now. One of my podcasts, I played Hobson. Hobson was in the church. I don't know if you're familiar with Hobson, and he sang the song "Ill Mind of Hobson 7," where he cursed out the church and questioned God and so on. Questioned God, and he grew up in the church, but no, he's not doing that no more. But because he hasn't seen God, he hasn't heard God. It's all a big lie to and so on and so forth. But for you as a person, you're from another young man from a different spectrum. You're saying, no, we need to, God is there, and you're seeking after him, and you're also reaching people, and you're listening to the voice of God. But what message you have to tell people in terms of who are trying to find God or hear him, and who said, I've never heard him, or I'm having problems, or I don't have the kind of hope that you have? What do you have to say to those people?
When it comes to hearing the voice of God, I mean, the best way I tell people to hear God and to know that it's really God is to be still, pray. I mean, yeah, sometimes you might not hear him right away. I don't hear him right away. You know what I mean? Some days I have to go to him several times. Hey, God, where you at now? I'm waiting. But just when I need him the most, or just in that hour or that last minute, I'll hear that small voice say whatever I needed to say, or whatever decision I need to be made, it'll be made. But most of the time, if I really need to hear from God or a word or whatever, a lot of times we have to put ourselves aside, certain things, fasting, praying, taking that moment, whether it's 5, 10 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just to sit still and just talk to God.
And for persons who don't know what fasting is, it's like going without food for a couple of days. Yes.
Yeah. Or whether it even not be food, whether it's fasting from the television, whether it's fasting from social media, taking time away from something that we have the luxury of almost, I mean, so that we can get a direct connection, something that would take us away from it. A lot of times people do look at fasting as, I can't eat for fasting, but a lot of times we can fast in other ways than just not eating. Even on the Bible, they say you fast for 40 days, and and not eat food. But you have people with so many medical things now. I mean, it's hard to tell people, hey, don't go eat.
Yes.
And I mean, but with the
Yes.
eating part of it, it's being disciplined.
Yeah.
It's all about being disciplined. If you know that if you can go a week without not eating sweets or whatever, you discipline yourself enough to not eat through that. And then those times in your fasting moments, if you're fasting from food or you're fasting from whatever you're fasting for, when you have those urges to want to eat the sweets, or you want to eat fried chicken, or you want to play the video games, or you want to go shopping, if you go shopping every day and that's your go-to every day, the shopping, or you want to be on social media telling jokes or ranting and raving or whatever it is you do on social media or on TikTok or whatever, if it's taking those things away from you for those moments, that takes us away from God. And in those moments where you feel the urge to do it, you sit down and you pray. You say, hey God, I really need to hear you in this moment. Those, as soon as you want the urge to eat, hey, let me pray. Let me read a Bible verse. Stay connected to God, because that's where your focus is in that moment, on trying to get your answer or trying to get God to speak to you or move through you or whatever. And sometimes it just takes a simple prayer. Hey, God, I need to hear something from you. I mean, and whatever the situation is or whatever, but
Yes.
he shows up when he needs to. He answers us when he needs to answer us, you know.
Yes. And I know there's a book that I read some time ago. I think it was written by C.S. Lewis. I can't remember. I can't. Is it C.S. Lewis? I can't recall. What's your disappointment with God, or something of the sort? But the book is quite interesting because he makes a point about the people who pray and don't get an answer, but in a sense, he makes the point that they do get an answer. It's quite an interesting book. Actually, people should read it. And I'm writing a book on secrets to unlocking divine intervention. And I say in the book, it's not a secret, and the book is not just for Christians, but for everyone who has various faith experiences. But I like to share what others are saying with the world. My understanding, I want to hear other person's faith experiences, other person's understanding of how God is moving and intervening in their lives, because it may move others as well, and others may find it normative, because God speaks to us wherever we are, based on our understanding and our context, because God is wise and intelligent, and he relates to us based on who we are, because we are limited, but he is not, and he speaks to us in our limitations. And you're saying, you're saying that God is real to you because God has moved you, spoken with you, and you have touched so many people's lives, and you have a powerful story to tell.
Yes, sir.
Reverend.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Now,
I
what's
mean,
going on in that? Yeah, what's going on in Atlanta though? And what's the new thing that's going? What as we wrap up, we have about 3 minutes. But and you live in Atlanta, and what community are you from in Atlanta?
I'm from pretty much all over Atlanta. Born and raised in Atlanta.
Yes.
I currently live in the Edgewood, Little Five Points area, close to downtown area.
Okay.
I grew up on the east side of the city in the suburbs.
Oh, nice.
Funny story, actually went to high school in Florida. So I have traveled a lot as well. But yeah, I went to high school in Florida, came back the ending of my senior year, and graduated here in Atlanta. Been in Atlanta ever since. Currently working on my rebuilding the branding of my cleaning company and my wedding and event business. We did take a very big hit during COVID, but we're on the bounce back now. So
Before you gloss over that part, so you have a business. What's the name of it? You have a wedding and a cleaning business. What's the name of it?
yes, I have a wedding and event planning business as well as a cleaning business combined in one. The name of my business is About Last Night Wedding and Events and Cleaning Hospitality Services.
About Last Night.
Yes, About Last Night Wedding and Events.
Wedding and events, because just in case people wants to reach you for events, wedding events or whatever events that they're having of that magnitude, or for cleaning services, they can reach out to About Last Night Wedding and Events. And is there a contact information? And you said that you got a big hit during COVID. And are you still have you been able to bounce back from that? Because I said a lot of businesses, especially African American or Black and Brown businesses, have really taken a big hit, and irrespective of the funding that giving to communities, and it's still not reaching the communities. Tell me a little bit what's going on. You said you got a big hit. Have you been able to bounce back?
Yeah, we're actually in the process of rebuilding, trying to bounce back and regain clientele and start back doing events to the level that I was doing them before,
Okay.
and expanding the business as well and rebranding. So, I mean, it's taking the time, but we're taking our time to do it right. You know, rebuilding the website. I pulled my website down, my Facebook page is down. I'm redoing all of that to revamp it so we can be back better and ever than we were before, and even setting up to do virtual events as well, because that is a thing now where people are setting up virtual parties still, even though we're losing
Yes.
all of our COVID restrictions. But it's also a good way that people have been connecting with their family members from different areas who aren't necessarily able to make their event, wedding, party, or whatever they have going on. So we've set up a thing to be able to do virtual events as well. Um, yeah, so that's what
Nice.
we're doing, and trying to rebrand in my cleaning business, building up the clientele. And I actually am trying to move out of residential cleaning, even though it's
Yes.
very profitable, but going back into more so post commercial cleans.
Yes. Yes. That's
Yeah.
good. That's good. And if persons want to reach out to you for to acquire your company services, wedding or planning or cleaning services, and you also have a music ministry and a persons and a speaking ministry and an outreach ministry to the most vulnerable, to this to the sick and the shut-ins and all, to people in communities, how can they reach out to you?
They can reach out to me, Deon Jackson. That's Deon Jackson, Jackson, on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they can reach me at my email, about ABOUT last LAST night NITE about last night wedding and events at gmail.com.
At gmail.com. Great, great. And recently there have been an upsurge in violence, and I can't end by asking you as a minister, as it relates to the violence and what's going on in Atlanta. I haven't heard much about Atlanta as it relates to, but in cities like Chicago, Philadelphia, and so on, there's been an an uptick in violence across the nation. What's going on in your neck of the woods in Atlanta?
Yes, in our area where we're very much so on a upbringing in this crime situation, and gun violence is on a rampage right now. It's very crazy. I woke up to the news this morning. We had 7 overnight shootings where several people were killed in those shootings. But I was doing some statistic checking, and Atlanta has now been actually named the murder capital of the world, for the rate of crime and murders that's been happening here since the year 2022. So
Wow.
it's really getting kind of bad out here. And then our governor has loosened our gun restriction law. So now anyone can carry, whether they've been convicted or not. They no
Mhm.
longer have to have a concealed carry weapon here in the state of Georgia, which is crazy because of how high gun rate, how high gun crime is right now in our city.
Do you think that that policy to loosen gun restrictions is related to the upsurge in the crime in Atlanta? Well, I mean, there's crime it's all over the country, it seems. But do you
Well,
think that?
I don't necessarily think that's part of the uptick of it, but I mean, it has contributed much to it.
Okay,
I
right.
will say that it has definitely contributed to it, because
Yeah.
I mean, you see over 3 and 4 people being murdered per night, per day, due to the hand of
Wow.
gun violence, police being shot or police shooting someone. I'm really been crazy. There's not a day I've looked at the news this year, not one day since the beginning of this year, that there have not been multiple people shot or killed at the hand
Uh,
of gun. And so, I
wow. I
mean,
didn't
actually,
even, thank you for telling me. Continue. Sorry for continue. Yes, please continue.
yeah, I'm actually working on something um
Mm-hmm.
in retrospect with gun violence and bridging our communities together and trying to
Yes.
do it at a big level to have a big rally and try to bring in some big name gospel celebrities, rap artists, R&B artists, different people of the black community, brown community, Latino
Yeah.
community, everyone who's affected with gun violence right now, to try to pull together a rally and get our city involved, our council people involved, our government involved, to be able to bring an end to this gun violence so that the streets of Atlanta are safe again for people to worship, for people to go out to the park and enjoy their families, for people to go out to one of our biggest malls, Lenox Mall, and not worry about being robbed at gunpoint or carjacked or anything when you're at the gas station. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm trying to do ministry wise that affects that part of our city. So, be on the lookout, guys, for something big in 2023. Hopefully, we'll go ahead and have it all set in stone by the end of the year.
Welcome back. Interview ended. The interview ended. Well, the interview got interrupted and we lost connections. But basically, that was the interview with Reverend Deon Jackson. Quite interesting. I didn't realize that he also was a musician who did some kind of background music for the likes of is it the Sheard or Shepherd Sisters, or I'm not sure, I might not be pronouncing the names correctly. He also did some background singing for Mary, I believe. Also, he said Fred Hammond and so on and so forth. So that's positive. So, and quite interesting young man. Quite interesting young man. And please, if you're in the Atlanta area, please support his business. Support his business. And recently, ESPN and Stephen A. Smith had something going on about giving a shout out, hashtag champion small business. And we here at the Neoliberal Corporation and Neoliberal Round is also going to be we promote all businesses, and of course, especially those small businesses that's struggling at this very difficult time. And so stay tuned for the rest. And by the way, we actually continue the discussion because we were talking about what was going on in Atlanta, with the violence in Atlanta. But so not only are we seeing the surge in violence in just in Philadelphia or in Chicago, but across cities across this country, and not cities and places, and rural or suburban. But it's quite interesting what's going on. But he said that there's been, even just recently, there was in Atlanta, there were at least 7 murders overnight, and we've been seeing a lot of that. And I asked him about gun reform, and of course he believes that gun reform is necessary. He believes some gun reform is necessary because I think what happened in Atlanta is that the new mayor or the new governor, the city has loosened its restrictions. It's the gun restrictions, and what I'm hearing is that coupled with that, you see surge in violence. But also there are issues in terms of poverty in these cities and these communities, and extremism on the rise, and ideological beliefs that push people to do extreme stuff. But continue to listen to the program, and we really appreciate your support. We are coming up to 1 year of doing this podcast. July 7 makes 1 year, and we are actually a couple plays away from achieving 1,000 plays, just 1,000 plays on the Anchor.fm platform. And so we continue to grow and to develop. Share us, send us your feedback, let us know how we can grow, and share the show with your friends. And please, you can also support us by going to https://anchor.fm/the neoliberal/support. Thank you for tuning in, and see you tomorrow, and then over the weekend when we continue with our discussions with Caribbean thought. Towards developing a Caribbean thought, or Caribbean and diaspora, Pan-Africa perspectives and thoughts. And of course, and the following after that, we'll have the interview with a chemist who is actually a professor in Massachusetts, Dr. Andre Isaacs, a good friend of mine, a buddy of mine who we actually played tennis together while we were at University of Pennsylvania. Thank you so much, guys, and have a great day. Walk good.